A veteran NFL defender lined up, delivered a message to a rookie quarterback, and thought that would be the end of it. It was. What happened next didn't just change the game, it exposed something building in Cleveland that the rest of the league might not be ready for. It started like any other NFL moment. A veteran defender saw a rookie quarterback across from him and decided it was time to send a message. That's how the league works. You earn respect the hard way, especially at quarterback. And Jeffery Simmons is exactly the kind of player who takes that responsibility seriously. Simmons isn't known for holding back. He's built his reputation on power, aggression, and making quarterbacks uncomfortable from the inside. When he lines up, it's not just about stopping plays, it's about setting a tone. So when he faced Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback already surrounded by hype, the mindset was simple: welcome him to the NFL the right way. And early in that game, Simmons got his moment. He delivered a hit on Sanders that immediately stood out. It was physical, aggressive, and according to Simmons himself, possibly a little high. The kind of play that lives right on the edge of what officials might call. In most situations, it's just another snap. Maybe a quick reaction from the crowd, maybe a flag, maybe not, then everyone moves on. That's the unwritten rhythm of football. Veterans hit, rookies learn, the game keeps going. But this time, something felt different. You could sense it even before the full reaction unfolded. Simmons wasn't just going through the motions, he was trying to establish dominance. He had already been talking, already bringing that energy defenders use to get inside a young quarterback's head. It's part of the psychological battle that happens on every snap, especially when a rookie steps into the spotlight. And to his credit, Sanders didn't shy away from it. That alone started to shift the tone, because typically rookies don't engage like that. They keep their heads down, focus on surviving, and avoid giving veterans extra motivation. But this situation didn't follow that script. Sanders carried himself differently, and Simmons noticed it in real time. Still, from Simmons' perspective, the plan was working, at least at first. He made the hit, he got physical, he let Sanders know this wasn't college anymore. For a moment, it looked like a standard welcome to the league sequence. The kind of exchange that happens every single week across the NFL without much attention. But what happened immediately after that hit is what changed everything. Because instead of fading into just another play, that moment triggered something much bigger, something Simmons clearly didn't expect. And that's when the entire atmosphere began to shift. At first, it sounded like a normal reaction. A big hit on a quarterback, especially a young one, is always going to get a response from the crowd. A few boos, maybe some yelling, and then the game moves on. That's how it usually works in the NFL. Players expect it. They're trained to block it out. But this wasn't that. After Jeffery Simmons delivered that hit, the noise didn't fade. It didn't settle down after the next play. It didn't disappear as the game continued. According to Simmons, it stayed with him the entire time. Every step he took, every time he lined up, every time he got near Shedeur Sanders, the crowd was still there. Still loud, still locked in on him. And not in a general way, this felt targeted. That's what made it different. NFL stadiums are loud, that's nothing new. But there's a difference between background noise and something that feels personal. Simmons described a situation where it wasn't just about cheering for their team, it was about reacting to him specifically. Every action he took against Sanders carried weight, and the crowd made sure he felt it. For a veteran defender, that's unusual. These are players who have been in hostile environments before. They've played in packed stadiums, dealt with elite fan bases, and heard everything from boos to insults. It's part of the job, and over time, most defenders develop the ability to tune it all out. It becomes white noise. But this didn't feel like white noise. This felt constant, intentional, almost like the entire stadium had made a collective decision to stay on him no matter what happened next. And the longer it went on, the more noticeable it became. Simmons even admitted that he leaned into it at one point, gesturing to the crowd, telling them to keep it coming. That's the competitive mindset. If they're going to bring energy, you bring it right back. But even that response didn't quiet things down. If anything, it made it louder. And that's when the dynamic started to shift. Because now, it wasn't just about football anymore. It wasn't just a defender trying to disrupt a quarterback. It felt like something bigger had formed in that moment, something that went beyond a single play or even a single drive. Simmons wasn't just dealing with an offense. He was dealing with an entire stadium that had suddenly become part of the game. And what happened next only pushed that intensity even further. It could have ended there, a big hit, a loud crowd, and a veteran doing what veterans do. But that's not how this played out. Because instead of backing down, Shedeur Sanders did something that immediately changed the tone of the entire game. He responded. Not quietly, not subtly, but directly. Shortly after taking that hit from Jeffery Simmons, Sanders led a drive that flipped the momentum. And when the play broke open, he capitalized. The ball found the end zone, and just like that, the rookie quarterback had his moment. But it wasn't just the score that stood out. It was what happened after. Instead of jogging back to the sideline or celebrating with teammates, Sanders made it personal. He went looking for Simmons, found him, and made sure there was no confusion about who the message was for. A gesture, a look, a response that said everything without needing words. In that moment, the script completely flipped. Because this is the part rookies usually avoid. This is the line most young players don't cross. You don't poke the veteran who just welcomed you to the league. You don't add fuel to that kind of fire. The unwritten rule is simple: earn your place first, talk later. Sanders ignored that rule. And whether you see it as confidence or something else, it instantly changed how the interaction felt. Now it wasn't just a veteran testing a rookie. It was a rookie stepping into the spotlight and pushing right back. Simmons felt it immediately. He admitted that moment stuck with him, that it didn't just pass by like another play, it lingered. And from that point on, the tone between them shifted. What started as standard competition turned into something more direct, more personal. The talking increased, the physicality stayed, every time Simmons got close. There was something extra, another word, another nudge, another reminder that this wasn't over. And that's exactly what Sanders had triggered. Because in the NFL, respect is often tied to how you respond under pressure. And in that moment, Sanders didn't just absorb the hit, he answered it, publicly, confidently, right in front of everyone watching. That kind of reaction doesn't go unnoticed. Some fans loved it, saw it as a sign of a quarterback who refuses to be intimidated. Others might look at it differently. Some around the league could see it as a rookie stepping into dangerous territory, especially when dealing with veterans who take pride in enforcing those unwritten rules. And that's where things get complicated. Because once that line is crossed, the game doesn't slow down, it intensifies. What followed wasn't just competition anymore, it turned into something much deeper. Because once that moment happened between Shedeur Sanders and Jeffery Simmons, the tone of the entire game shifted into what players often call a hidden war. This is the part of football most fans don't fully see. It's not always about the big hits or highlight plays. It's about everything in between: the talking, the small physical nudges, the constant attempts to get inside someone's head. And Simmons didn't shy away from admitting that's exactly where things went next. After Sanders' response, Simmons made a decision. He wasn't going to let it go. Every time he got close to Sanders, there was something extra. A bump after the play, a few words exchanged, a presence that lingered just long enough to remind the rookie that he hadn't forgotten what happened. That's the unwritten side of the NFL, especially on defense. If a young quarterback steps up like that, veterans take it personally. And Simmons leaned all the way into it. He even admitted that talking is already part of his game. That's how he competes. But after that moment, it went to another level. It became constant, relentless, not just playing football, but making sure Sanders felt him every chance he got. That's where things get interesting. Because typically, rookies don't invite that kind of attention. They avoid it. They stay quiet, keep things professional, and focus on surviving their first real test at the NFL level. There's a reason for that. Once defenders lock in on you like that, it doesn't stop. But Sanders didn't follow that script. And that decision may have changed how players around the league start to view him. Some fans see it as confidence, the kind of edge you want in a franchise quarterback. A player who won't be shaken, who's willing to stand his ground no matter who's across from him. That mindset can elevate a team. But at the same time, some around the league might see it differently. There's a certain hierarchy in the NFL, especially between veterans and rookies. And when a young player challenges that too early, it can create a target. Not officially, not something anyone will say publicly, but something that shows up in moments like this. Extra hits, extra attention, extra energy. Simmons didn't hide that reality. In fact, he almost confirmed it. Once Sanders crossed that line, Simmons treated him differently. Not dirty, not outside the game, but with an intensity that clearly went beyond a normal matchup. And that's the balance every young quarterback has to manage. Play with confidence, but understand the consequences. Because once defenders decide you're fair game in that way, it doesn't just stay between two players. Word spreads, film gets watched, moments get remembered. And suddenly, it's not just one defender bringing that energy. It's everyone. And that's when the situation quietly becomes something much bigger than one game. What's happening in Cleveland right now doesn't follow the usual NFL script, and that's what makes this situation so interesting. Because the reaction surrounding Shedeur Sanders isn't just strong, it's unusually fast. Most rookie quarterbacks don't walk into this kind of environment. Typically, when a young QB arrives, there's hesitation from the fanbase. People want to see proof first. They want consistency, wins, and moments that justify the hype. Support builds over time, it's earned through performance. But that's not what's happening here. From the moment Sanders stepped into the spotlight, the energy felt different. The excitement wasn't cautious, it was immediate. The connection between him and the Cleveland crowd didn't need time to develop, it was already there. And that's rare. Some fans believe it comes from everything Sanders brought with him before even entering the league. The confidence, the visibility, the background, it created a level of attention most rookies simply don't have. Others point to the current uncertainty at the position, especially with the ongoing conversations around Deshaun Watson and the team's long-term direction. Either way, the result is the same. The fans have made a choice. And they didn't wait. That's where things start to shift in a way that goes beyond football. Because when a fan base commits to a player this quickly, it changes the entire dynamic around the team. It's no longer just about performance, it becomes emotional, personal. You could feel that energy in the reaction described by Jeffery Simmons. That wasn't just crowd noise, that was protection. A response that felt like the stadium had collectively decided that Sanders was their guy. Not eventually. Right now. And that kind of backing creates something powerful, but also unpredictable. On one hand, it gives a young quarterback confidence that most players have to build over years. Knowing the crowd is behind you no matter what can change how you play. It can make you more aggressive, more willing to take risks, more comfortable in high-pressure moments. But on the other hand, it raises the stakes. Because once that level of support is established, expectations follow. Fans who invest this quickly don't stay neutral for long. They defend you when things go right, but they also watch closely when things don't. And there's another layer to it. When the fans are this locked in on one player, it can quietly create tension elsewhere. Not necessarily in a dramatic way, but in subtle shifts, in conversations, in decisions that suddenly carry more weight than they normally would. Some reports suggest that when fan bases lean this heavily toward one direction, organizations have to start factoring that into their choices, whether they admit it or not. Because ignoring it can come at a cost. That's what makes this situation in Cleveland so unique. It's not just about developing a quarterback anymore, it's about managing momentum that's already taken off. And once that kind of momentum builds, it doesn't slow down easily. It either grows stronger or it starts to turn. And that's the part nobody fully sees yet. What's happening in Cleveland isn't your typical NFL story. The moment Shedeur Sanders stepped onto that field, the narrative changed. Rookie quarterbacks usually have to earn respect over months, sometimes years. Fans wait for proof, for clutch plays, for consistency before fully committing. But Sanders, the fans didn't wait, they didn't hesitate. From the first snap, the excitement around him was immediate, intense, and unmistakably personal. That's not just energy, it's a statement. Some fans believe it comes from everything Sanders brought with him before even hitting the field. His confidence, his high-profile college career, his visible charisma. Others think it's the uncertainty at quarterback in Cleveland that amplified the moment. Questions about Deshaun Watson and the team's direction left an opening, a vacuum that Sanders filled instantly. Either way, the effect is undeniable. The fanbase has chosen, and the choice is absolute. The pressure this creates for the Browns organization is substantial. This isn't about simple hype or casual enthusiasm. When a fanbase commits so strongly to a single player, it reshapes the internal and external dynamics of the franchise. Suddenly, every roster decision, every coaching call, every minor tweak in the quarterback rotation becomes loaded with additional weight. The margin for error shrinks dramatically. If Sanders is even perceived as being slighted, benched, or traded, the backlash wouldn't just be loud. It could destabilize the entire team environment. Some analysts argue that this level of fan investment is both a blessing and a complication. On the upside, the economic benefits are clear. Merchandise flies off the shelves. Season tickets sell faster. Television ratings spike. Fans don't just watch, they participate. The excitement translates into revenue, visibility, and a home field advantage unlike any other. Opposing defenses now enter Cleveland not just facing a quarterback, they're walking into a stadium where the crowd has taken it upon themselves to protect him. Every aggressive play against Sanders triggers an emotional, collective response. Every hit becomes personal. Every drive feels like a battle against 50,000 people, not just 11 opponents. But the flip side is just as real. The pressure to maintain this relationship with the fanbase is continuous. Every decision the front office makes is scrutinized under a magnifying glass. Bench Sanders for rest. Fans erupt. Trade him in the future. Fans revolt. Fail to protect him adequately in personnel moves. Backlash is immediate. The organization must now manage not just a roster. They must manage the expectations, loyalty, and emotional investment of a highly energized fanbase. Reports and interviews, including insights from veteran defenders like Jeffery Simmons, confirm this phenomenon. Simmons didn't just face Sanders on the field. He faced a stadium acting as one collective defensive line for the rookie quarterback. This is uncharted territory for an NFL franchise, and the implications are clear. Cleveland has inadvertently created a system where the quarterback is shielded not just by teammates, but by the crowd itself. That is the pressure. Every play, every call, every personnel move carries more weight than ever before. It's both an opportunity and a challenge. Sanders has the backing of an entire city, but the Browns now bear the responsibility of ensuring that trust isn't broken. Missteps won't just be football errors, they could spark a cultural backlash, a challenge to the authority and credibility of the franchise. Cleveland has tapped into something extraordinary, but extraordinary situations require extraordinary management. The Browns aren't just developing a quarterback, they're navigating a movement, and if they handle it correctly, that movement could define the team for years. But if they falter, the stakes are higher than they've ever been. When you think about rookie quarterbacks, you usually picture a slow climb. A few flashes of brilliance, a handful of clutch moments, and gradually over months or even years, the fans start to believe. That's how it usually works, not in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders flipped that script immediately. From the moment he set foot on the field, the attention wasn't just local, it was league-wide. Opposing coaches, defensive coordinators, and veteran players are taking notice. And they're not just noticing his arm talent or mobility, they're noticing the phenomenon surrounding him, the electric aura created by a city fully committed to one player. Reports suggest that defensive game planning in Cleveland has changed fundamentally. It's no longer enough to study the playbook, the personnel, or tendencies. When a defender steps onto the field, he must now factor in the crowd's reaction. Every hit on Sanders carries more than the usual physical risk. It carries emotional consequences, amplified by tens of thousands of fans who have decided to protect their quarterback with every ounce of energy they have. Jeffery Simmons, a veteran defensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans, described it in stark terms. He wasn't just trying to challenge Sanders, he was trying to silence a city. That's a level of intensity that no scouting report can capture. Some league insiders argue that this kind of fan engagement creates a subtle but tangible competitive advantage. Home field advantage is a known factor in football, but what Cleveland has done is elevate it to an entirely new level. Opponents walk in knowing that a single rookie has rallied an entire stadium behind him. The noise, the pressure, the expectation, it all converges into an environment that can shake even the most disciplined defenses. Veteran quarterbacks are used to hostile crowds, but this is different. This isn't just fans cheering against you, this is a city collectively deciding to make your life miserable if you even think about hitting their quarterback. And the league is noticing. Across NFL locker rooms, conversations are happening. Coaches are adjusting their game plans. Defenders are being warned that traditional methods of aggression might not work the same way here. Analysts on sports networks are dissecting how Sanders' influence has reshaped a franchise's home dynamics. Rumors suggest that opposing coordinators are even running simulated crowd noise drills, trying to prepare players for an intensity that goes beyond standard hostile environments. It's almost as if Sanders isn't just a rookie quarterback, he's a league-wide case study in fan influence and psychological advantage. For the Browns, this has massive implications. They've stumbled into something few organizations ever experience, an organically generated, deeply committed fan culture surrounding one player. On the positive side, it brings undeniable economic and social benefits. Merchandise sales skyrocket. Season tickets become easier to sell. Local media buzzes with constant coverage. But there's a flip side, too. The organization is now constrained by the expectations of tens of thousands of emotionally invested fans. Every coaching decision, every roster move, every slight misstep regarding Sanders is magnified. Even a minor benching or personnel adjustment could ignite public backlash strong enough to disrupt team cohesion. This is the paradox the Browns now face. The same energy that fuels Sanders' rise also raises the stakes for the entire franchise. And make no mistake, the league sees this. Teams entering Cleveland are studying this new dynamic, and coaches across the NFL are preparing their players for an unprecedented scenario, playing against not just a quarterback, but the collective will of an entire stadium. Every sack, every tackle, every pressure attempt becomes a psychological battle against 50,000 fans. Jeffery Simmons experienced this firsthand, and his testimony isn't an exaggeration, it's a warning. The league is paying attention. This isn't hype, it's not just media narrative. It's a tangible shift in how NFL teams must approach preparation, strategy, and player management. The Sanders effect isn't confined to Cleveland, it's influencing league-wide tactics. And that makes the young quarterback not just a rising star, but a potential blueprint for how fan engagement and player performance can intersect to reshape professional football itself. The 12th man in Cleveland is alive, and the rest of the league is taking note. The story of Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns is bigger than any single game, bigger than any highlight reel or individual performance. What Jeffery Simmons confirmed is not just about a rookie quarterback making plays, it's about the culture that has formed around him, a culture that completely transforms what it means to step onto that field in Cleveland. Fans are no longer passive observers, they are active participants in the game, reacting not just to wins and losses, but to every hit, every throw, every scramble Sanders makes. The energy of that stadium isn't generic, it's targeted, it's personal, and it's real. Consider what that does for the quarterback himself. Most rookies are cautious at first, learning the pace of the league, adjusting to the physical and mental grind. Sanders walked into Cleveland with the weight of expectations, but he also walked in knowing that an entire city had his back. That knowledge changes the way you play. It affects confidence, decisiveness, and risk-taking. It turns ordinary throws into bold attempts, ordinary runs into game-changing plays. He's not just leading a team, he's commanding an entire stadium, a fan base invested so deeply that their energy becomes a strategic advantage. The implications go beyond the immediate. Opposing teams can no longer treat Cleveland as a neutral environment where standard tactics apply. Every defensive coordinator must prepare players for more than the X's and O's of the offense. They must prepare for 50,000 people acting as a unified protective force. Simmons' first-hand experience highlights just how intense that is. He went in thinking he could deliver a message, show dominance, and test the rookie's limits. Instead, he found himself battling a city, a collective force that refuses to allow Sanders to fail. That's not hyperbole, that's the reality of this phenomenon. Brown's organization benefits, of course. A quarterback with that kind of support instantly boosts ticket sales, merchandise, and local media engagement. Television ratings climb. Social media buzzes nonstop. Economically and culturally, Cleveland has stumbled into something franchises spend decades trying to cultivate. But there's a flip side. Every decision, every roster move, every coaching call involving Sanders is under intense scrutiny. The margin for error shrinks dramatically. Bench him or mishandle the situation, and the backlash isn't just loud, it could destabilize the team. Managing Sanders now means managing the expectations of tens of thousands of emotionally invested fans. What Simmons' testimony also reveals is how rare this is in the league. Most home field advantages are passive. They create pressure through noise and intimidation. Cleveland has converted that advantage into something active, something aggressive, something that directly impacts how defenders perform. Every hit on Sanders now carries psychological consequences, amplified by a stadium fully committed to its quarterback. That's why this isn't just a story about a rookie, it's a blueprint for the next era of NFL fan engagement and team dynamics. The Shedeur Sanders phenomenon is a living, breathing force. It's not manufactured hype or clever marketing, it's organic, explosive, and undeniable. The league is paying attention. Players, coaches, and analysts all see what's happening, and the ripple effect is starting to change how teams approach preparation, strategy, and execution. Cleveland has created an environment that elevates home field advantage to an unprecedented level, centered entirely around one player. Sanders isn't just playing football, he's leading a movement. And that's the takeaway. Facing Cleveland in the Sanders era isn't about shutting down a single quarterback. It's about confronting the full weight of a city that has made him their symbol, their hope, and their focal point. Every tackle, every sack, every aggressive play is now met with personal, collective resistance from the 12th man. That's bigger than one game. That's bigger than stats. That's the Shedeur Sanders effect, and the rest of the NFL better be ready.